Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Let's talk Chef's Choice Rosemary. So first of all, I'm shooting this video in the beginning of January. So obviously this is an evergreen shrub. This Rosemary officinalis was picked because it has a higher oil content. So it's a great culinary rosemary. It's also picked because of its compact habit. And as you can see, this plant is maybe 2 feet in height, maybe 3 feet in width. It's been in the ground probably 18 months, a little longer than that. It's actually listed for a little less than 2 feet on the tag, and it can be kept that height, but I think ultimately 2 to 3 feet by 3 to 4 feet is what you would expect from this one. Kind of moderate growth rate. This plant's going to go in the at least a half a day sun or more, and if it's happy, it can get some growth pretty quickly. Again, this one is only a year and a half old at this point. So rosemary is a flowering shrub. Not many people are planting it for its flowers, but it does have beautiful bluish flowers. This is typically the time of year we'd be seeing those. I don't have any flowers on this young plant, but around my neighborhood on other plants, they are in flower during this time of year. If we get warm days during the winter time is typically when I see those flowers. Of course, the foliage is very fragrant on this plant, and it's rosemary, and every time I touch it, it's in the air. Warmer days, you can actually smell it without touching it from some distance away. And this one has a high oil content, so it's quite pungent. These are hardy in zones 8 to 10 typically. That's what you're going to see on tags. I'm in zone 7B. In a protected place, we have no problem in zone 7B growing rosemaries, ground cover rosemaries, semi-dwarf ones like the Chef's Choice, or larger growing rosemaries. Again, I probably wouldn't put it out by my mailbox where it's going to get a lot of winter wind on it, but any protected space, 7B is no problem. Again, this is a more sun the better kind of plant. I've got a few in my neighborhood. We've got a lot of large oaks in the neighborhood, and rosemaries that are planted in the shade really get stretched and leggy looking, and it's kind of hard to control that. They don't get a lot of this new fresh growth on it, so at least a half a day's direct sun or more is ideal. Let's talk about some uses for Chef's Choice rosemary. This fantastic compact habit lends itself to being a great ornamental plant. Let's forget about for a minute that it has a culinary use, or even that it flowers some in the wintertime, and just take a look at this perfect little dome-shaped ornamental plant with this narrow foliage. It looks great in the landscape, has this blue-green hue to it year-round. The new growth on it during the spring is a slightly lighter color, which creates kind of a contrast across the plant. This is a great plant to use as a foundation plant on a sunny side of a foundation. Can be used as a container plant in warmer areas. It looks great with other plants. If you take this and put it up against different types of foliage, larger leaves, like my Florida Sunshine Elysium back here, the blue-green foliage contrast against the color and the leaf shape nicely. It looks great with the conifer that's sitting next to it, the little dwarf cryptomeria that's there. It lends itself as a great ornamental plant, and I think it's underused and undervalued for that. It's always grouped with the herbs in the garden centers and not grouped with the landscape plants, the ornamental landscape plants. And I think this does have a place in just ornamental landscaping as well. This Mediterranean plant is definitely drought tolerant, but that doesn't mean it wants to sit around with no water all the time. In order for it to perform at its best, it does need watering when it's abnormally dry. I plant rosemary, especially in my area where we have clay soils. I mound them up a little bit. I make sure they're going to have good drainage. Definitely doesn't want to sit in water. But this is a plant that, although it's drought tolerant and it wouldn't die without me watering it once it's established, a little bit of ongoing watering creates this look, rather than a thin plant that's struggling. So ongoing watering when it's dry. These can be fertilized in the late winter with a slow release organic fertilizer. That's what you'll see me do every year in my landscape. I keep it mulched. There are leaves around it now that fell off a tree from behind me. I keep the weeds away from it. Again, I water it when it's abnormally dry, and that's kind of it. There's really, really low maintenance plant. Fragrant foliage or fragrant flowers are typically your friend if you have deer. And so this is a deer resistant plant. It's rabbit resistant. Nothing's going to chew on rosemary other than us. Great plant for that if you have those kinds of pest issues, and really just not a lot of pest in general. The only time I ever see insect problems on rosemary, typically if I see them tucked up in too much shade or they're stressed in some sort of stress conditions. Healthy plants tend to fight off those issues readily. So Chef's Choice Rosemary. This is a Southern Living Plant Collection introduction. I really, really love this plant. Thanks for watching.